What is up and welcome back. We are your Colorado real estate family. If you are planning on making that move into Broomfield, Colorado, this is one of those videos you must watch. We're going to be talking about 7 different things that we think that you might need to know before calling this place your home. The first thing that we do want to mention with Broomfield is it is its own city and also county. This actually happened back in 1998. I think it was November of 1998. And the main reason that they did do this is because initially Broomfield was incorporated into 4 different counties. No other city in Colorado was like that. And so it became super convoluted when they're like, all right, what services do we use? Is it Adams County? Is it Jefferson County? Is it Weld County? Or is it Boulder County? And so that was super confusing. So back in 1988, they became the 64th county within Colorado. The second thing that we do want to talk about, if you are not from Colorado, Broomfield is a little confusing whether you're in Broomfield or another city.
Yeah, even if you look at the map, you'll see that Broomfield has a very unique shape. It's also surrounded by a bunch of cities. There's no gap in land or anything in between this city and the surrounding city. So am I in Westminster? Am I in Thornton? And what's the south? What would be
so
south?
It's like Arvada.
Arvada's on the west
parts
side.
of it, I mean, Louisville, Lafayette. You're like,
Yeah.
am I in Broomfield or am I in Lafayette or Louisville?
Yeah,
so
you could be driving and you're like, oh, I'm in Westminster now. And so that is one thing, is it is surrounded by all cities. It is pretty flowy into those cities, so you're not going to feel a big difference or know when you are leaving the city or county itself.
Yeah, there's even a part of like Broomfield on the northeastern side where you're at Orchard Town Center. That's Westminster. But you look at it and you're like, wait, I think this was Broomfield, because just north of there is Broomfield, where you got like Baseline and all these areas that we're going to talk about here soon. But yeah, if you're not from here, you're like, oh yeah, I was over in Broomfield over at Orchard. It's like, well, actually, no, that's Westminster. Or I was down by the airport and it's like, that was in Arvada. And it's like, no, that's part of Broomfield too. So it can be super confusing if you are not initially from Colorado.
Let's jump into the schools too, because I think this also plays kind of an important role in that map. So the third thing you need to know is the schools. There are 2 districts in Broomfield. The first one is going to be Boulder Valley, and the second one's going to be Adams 12. When you're looking at that weird map just to see the city guidelines, it is pretty helpful to see the 2 districts, which almost split Broomfield in half. So if you're looking at those 2 districts and how they're grading, we use niche.com. Boulder Valley is going to come in at I almost did it backwards, an A, and then Adams 12 is going to come in at a B+. Now, if you are not new to our channel, you've heard me say this time and time again, so I'm sorry, stick it out for me for a second, but this city specifically, it's very important not to look at the district grade overall, and that's it. And the reason is when you go into the district, you can also kind of zoom into that district and see each school and all the schools that are grading, or all the things that are going into that grade. This city specifically is going to show a very interesting story. If you are looking over in Boulder Valley, which is rated an A, you are going to see over in Broomfield that majority of them are going to be A and B schools, but maybe even a couple that might be bringing down Boulder Valley as an overall grade in comparison to the other cities that are included in that district. If you're looking over in Adams 12, Broomfield, Westminster, and Thornton are actually bringing up that grade on niche.com, because majority of the other cities that pile into Adams County 12 have a lower grading. So this is very important for Broomfield because of these 2 districts and how they differ in that way in coming up with that overall grade. Okay, we're gonna get right back to that video, but before we do so, if you're looking to call Colorado your home, do yourself a favor, call that number right below. We have the best team of realtors here in the state of Colorado, and if you're not ready to buy, no worries, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so you're notified every single time we put out a new video. All right, back to the video, let's go.
The fourth thing that we wanted to uncover when talking about Broomfield is pretty much your new Broomfield versus old Broomfield. Now, it's funny, we're going to be talking about the development later on in this video, but they are trying to develop some of old Broomfield that's going to make it feel pretty new, which is super awesome. But let's talk about this. So if we're talking about old Broomfield, we're pretty much looking at like 120th area. So you have like 120th and Main right there. Well, that's where all your older homes are in Broomfield. If you're a little bit northeast of there, you got the Broomfield Commons. Those houses were built more in the 2000s, 2010s, right around there. But then if you want the super new Broomfield, we got to talk about Arista, which is like your downtown Broomfield, over by the event center. Then also you got Baseline, you got Anthem, which is more north, near Highway 7 on the south side of Highway 7 up there.
I think that's really cool to talk about because you talked about those 3. So just real quick, Arista is going to be your walkability, I want to live in more condo style, but have the walkability of restaurants and fun things to hang out. Then you've got Anthem, which is like ultimate suburbia. So you're going to have multiple parks, multiple pools, little ponds in between, like this mega neighborhood is what we kind of
yeah,
talk about.
It's seriously, it's insane. It's a huge master plan.
Yeah, like your own community, your own little suburbia. And then Peter talked about baseline, which is going to be like the newest thing, which is like your urban, kind of your new urban area, which is going to kind of include a little bit of both. You're going to have different styles of homes, maybe less space like Anthem, but not condo style like Arista, and really just kind of combining that like work-life play kind of environment.
Yeah.
All of these are located in Broomfield. Like that's really important, and it's all new Broomfield, which shows how like in tune I feel like Broomfield is when they are in that newer space. We're seeing what they're doing as a city and how like in tune they are what people want in Colorado.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're in like old Broomfield or new Broomfield. It is a very clean city. So you could be in older Broomfield, and they still did a ton of renovations over there. They still do a lot of the street work and everything to still make it look like a great city. So that's a great thing that we've always talked about Broomfield. Ultimate suburbia, and that is exactly what it is, but they do such a great job maintaining the city as a whole.
Okay, last thing on that. I'm sorry, I didn't know I had so many opinions about it. The South Broomfield, also one of the best things about South Broomfield going into more of a resale or kind of an older home is going to be how many trees there are. You guys hear me talk about this a lot when I talk about Longmont in certain areas. Broomfield is one of those areas that does have a lot of beautiful mature trees. Are you talking about open space at all? I don't want to break it if it's not. Okay, Broomfield also takes a lot of pride in their open space. And so you're going to see a lot of open space areas. They have like goals on square foot or how many, is it square feet? Measured by square feet?
How much saved open space they have. Yeah, I think it's, I can't remember the number or whatever, but they have a goal in mind where there's like, we want to make sure that we keep this percentage of open space always in Broomfield.
Yeah, so those older areas, you might really like it because it has a lot of mature trees. But don't worry, because Broomfield is so intentional that you will see even in these newer developments a lot of greenage and all kinds of things that they're planting. This is not the kind of area that's going to be like, your new area has no trees or anything like that. Like they are super intentional. All right, the fifth thing that you need to know about Broomfield is going to be its economy. And I just looked up a recent stat, and you can even read all about this on their website, but they were talking about how the economy is thriving in Broomfield and actually comparing it to kind of the surrounding metro cities or the other metro cities as well as Colorado as a whole. And they said, so here are some of the things that they said, when they're talking about like it's thriving on all metrics. I looked up like, okay, well, what metrics are we looking at? They said businesses, employees, residents, and development all thriving in comparison to Colorado as a whole. An example of the business one would be that Broomfield is at a 4.2% increase in jobs in comparison to Colorado at a 2.5. That is 42,800 jobs in Broomfield, and they are proud of that. There's all over the website. You can look into kind of what different, some of the headquarters and things, and we'll talk about some of that later in development as well. But they are very proud in the fact that they have a lot of jobs for the residents of Broomfield. Another example of them thriving on this metric level is going to be their unemployment rate. So I looked it up. They said 1,513 are unemployed residents in Broomfield, which is a 3.5%, which they said is nearly the most historic low that they've had in Broomfield overall. So it's just really cool that they track all of those things per city and then comparing it not only to their neighboring communities, but also Colorado to see how they're holding up to the state. All right, and then one of the last examples that I wanted to give you is going to be the new development. So this is going to kind of feed in where Peter's going to tell you a little bit more about what that is. But if you're looking at it in a housing perspective, they said the local housing has increased 2.1%, which is like the average annual increase. In comparison to Colorado, it's 1.7. So they are actually even providing more development and housing than Colorado as a whole. I love these. I geek out on numbers, but I'm like, okay, you say that you're like increasing, or you guys are like outweighing everybody on this metric level. Like, give me some examples of how you guys are tracking that. And these are 3 really good examples for that only better living in the city for each of the residents.
All right, the 6th thing that we're going to be diving into is that development. And the cool thing about this channel, outside of being able to talk to you guys, is finding out about this development that honestly we wouldn't know if we weren't doing all the research on the back end. And so we hear about a few of these cool projects. We're like, oh, that's pretty cool. I got to go check that out when it's done. And so the first thing we'll talk about, which is the easiest one, is the Flatirons Mall. They have been doing facelifts on and off ever since they built it. I think they built it in like early 2000s, late 90s, right around there. But they're constantly kind of doing something different. There was this section where they had to take out a lot of it because the land was shifting or something crazy was going on. That part right there is kind of what we're talking about right now, where just north of the movie theater at the Flatirons Mall, they're building this whole new project where they have a ton of new shops, more walkability, kind of a new commons area, a new outdoor walking commons area, because the Flatirons Mall is actually an indoor mall. Now they want to incorporate that outdoor shopping into it as well.
And I'll just say really quick, I really do feel like Flatirons is one of the best malls that we have.
Yeah.
It's something that we enjoyed, together or with our family. And it's one thing that I feel like they have really going for them is it is one of the best malls around.
Yep.
I primarily say that though because it is indoor. Because what we are seeing is a lot of product of outdoor malls.
The Orchard Town
the
Center,
Orchard, the outlets.
Yeah.
So it is one of the indoor. And the thing about indoor, like outlets are great if it's warm all the time. But you're in Colorado, guys. We have 4 seasons. So those indoor malls, when you can still get out and go kind of do things together when it could be like the crappiest day of snowing, is really nice to have, and it's one of the biggest and one of the only up in that area.
Now this is the one that I was actually super excited about. We're going to be talking about Broomfield Town Square. Now there's this portion in Old Broomfield where you had like an old Safeway there. You had this old sandwich shop over there, whatever. I like back in high school, I used to always go there and hang out. So 120th and Main, they're completely redeveloping that whole area and calling it Broomfield Town Square. Putting in, so here's essentially what it is, because I had to look it up. They're putting 471 multifamily units, 12 townhouses. They're doing 63,590 square feet in commercial space. There's a lake there on the north side in the Broomfield Commons. They're expanding that lake and making this huge new park on the south side of the Broomfield Commons. It's just crazy to see how they're finally doing a facelift of this area, because that area's been so dead for so long, and every time you drive by it's a little depressing, like, oh, there's abandoned businesses and crap. And
yeah, well, mainly because it is also one of the largest traffic areas. So like you would think that area would just thrive because you have 120th and Sheridan, and then going over, and that just especially getting over to Wadsworth, that area is so dense that it should be awesome. Some of the other things that they're talking about, I have like on the Broomfield website, they'll give you kind of snippets, right? Like we're gonna have to dive in as these projects take way and kind of look into some of the things that as things are being proposed. That's kind of where we find the sweet spot. But they are still talking about the IKEA. They said it's still in communication. They're getting
that's been on and off for years.
Yes.
Like we're super excited because we're on the north side of Thornton, right near where they're building this, and we're like, oh my god, we're getting IKEA.
Yes.
Like, oh no, we're not getting IKEA. Oh, now we're getting IKEA.
It was talked about on this is the city website. Okay, they're talking about like, this is still being talked about. We're kind of like ramping up excitement again for this new proposed plan. So I still think that's in the works. They're talking about the Sim Technology Park. I looked it up. Actually, I've got a picture. We'll pop it in right here. But it shows kind of this new technology park. And that is going to be home to aerospace, bioscience, and advanced technology. So pretty much about all you tech guys and people out there, you probably know what all that means, but we do know that that is going to employ a lot of people, which the more jobs you have, the better for the city. So we know this is going to be a big deal. It's also gorgeous. So, looking at the plans, we're like, wow, this is a really beautiful site plan. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. They also, Baseline Center Street, I don't know, they're doing some development there.
And Baseline, we've talked about this in the past. Actually, when we first started our channel, I think talking about Baseline was like our 4th video that we ever did, talking about this area, and it's just a super long expanded plan developing this whole new area, that urban development type of area that Chelsea talked about earlier in the video, and it's exciting. We have a family member who moved in just north of it to take advantage of this area when it's finally done.
It's gonna look, guys, this used to be like open land, right? Like we'd be traveling to church on Highway 7, help me with words. Highway 7, and this was all open space. And open space is great. I do love it. But if they are going to fill it, like how nice is that going to be with this beautiful new area where people are outside? I love seeing people outside, and that's like the whole idea of it. They talk about it's called I had to look it up for you. Baseline 160th Innovation Corridor. Okay? Wow, that is quite the words. It's also those are good words. You know what I mean? They are trying to create an idea, a culture around this Baseline area, and I think they are doing a fabulous job in that. And last thing, they did talk also about, yes, we're getting a lot of new development, and that's all great, but please know that we're also putting money back into the things that we take pride in, and that are some of their headquarters. That's going to be Ball Aerospace, it's going to be the Kroc headquarters, and then Sierra Space, which I actually didn't know that much about. I looked into it. and I'm so intrigued. I don't have enough time, nor do you have the patience for me to geek out on this, but I did read that it had to deal with low orbit space transportation that is now employing 287 people for like investigating and learning about this, and I am like, what? That just sounds really cool.
Yeah, it sounds super cool.
Come on now. So anyways, I am excited to see what that looks like. I have not dived in, but I'm sure all of us are going to now, at least all of us geeks out there who are excited about whatever this low orbit transportation looks like, but it's also in Broomfield, so good job, Broomfield.
All right, guys, this video is definitely long past due. We haven't done a video on Broomfield in probably like over a year. This is a great city. I'm surprised that we don't talk about it more often. Maybe we will. There are some details that we did not dive into, you know, pretty much your real estate cost of living. So maybe we'll do another Broomfield video here soon to dive into a few of those items. If this is content that you are loving and you do want to call Colorado your new home, give us a call or text that phone number right below, guys. Right there, because we are going to answer this matter date or time.
And if you're not ready to purchase any real estate or get a hold of the best real estate team in town, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, hit the notification bell, so at least you are getting educated for when the time comes and you are getting notified every single time we put out a new video.
Until next time, we love you. Bye.
Bye.